I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret of mine. Magnemite fascinates me. I was actually working on a Magnemite trivia video because I want to know what it is and where it came from because the Pokemon is truly enigmatic. And then, the Pokemon Company happened. And now, I have to go into Voltorb lore instead because Voltorb is also a very mysterious Pokemon. So by figuring out what's going on with modern Voltorb, we can completely debunk this pile of trash because I find it crazy that people defend Pokemon Legends even though it's supposed to be the history-based Pokemon game, and all it does is throw away the wonderful lore and history in the Pokemon Company. It's careless, it makes no sense, this is garbage fan service that conflicts with everything in Pokemon, and I have to understand what Voltorb is and where it came from to prove that. Because here's the thing, I love Pokemon's lore. Oh man, Silver being Giovanni's son? Silver's my favorite character in Pokemon. That was like the biggest hype thing of my childhood. Going back into like the Pokemon War and stuff as well, like there's actually a fleshed out history to Pokemon that makes no sense when you just throw in Pokemon Legends and then every other little bit of detail. Just go watch all of Pokemon Generations again and you'll know what I'm talking about. The subtle things going on in the background of the Pokemon world work and make sense. Nothing in Pokemon Legends works or makes sense. So, let's go and see what's going on with Voltorb, because hey, this is actually a pretty fascinating Pokemon too. Where did it come from? How does it go? I don't know, something Joe. Voltorb is a spherical Pokemon that resembles a Pokeball with eyes and minus the button. The top half is red while the bottom half is white. Because of its resemblance to Pokeballs, it is thought that it was created when one was exposed to an energy pulse. Alright, there we go. Done. GG. Explain this. And even this doesn't make any sense because the only way they're like kind of fitting in the grass typing is through the wood grain of the ball, and I believe it's actually mentioned to have the wood grain-like makeup as a part of its body. But where does the wood grain come from when the Pokeball is made from a tumblestone and an apricorn? Now, Hisuian Pokeballs already don't make sense because, again, this game is careless fan service, so it conflicts with existing Pokeball and Apricorn lore, but somehow the ones made mostly of wood can be crafted without any wood in the manufacturing process and just need a rock to, like, scoop out an Apricorn or something. I don't know. So it's already weird right there. I've also seen people trying to defend the Pokeball by saying, oh, well, wood is made of cellulose, and nuts are made of cellulose, so therefore you can get wood from a nut, because nuts are made of wood. I don't know what it is about the internet that makes people morons, but weren't you taught in elementary school that coal and diamonds are made from carbon? But a diamond is not coal. But I guess when it comes to defending a trash Pokemon game, just all basic comprehension skills go out the window, and then we can, like, read more into Hisuian Voltorb's lore, and it just feels like there's no reason for this Pokemon to exist, and even the Pokemon Company knows that. So, this enigmatic Pokemon, no. You can't just, like, also, here's the thing. If they really cared about the history of Pokemon, then this is the perfect time to explain how Voltorb exists as a species, because we're going back. This is the OG Voltorb, or it should be. So you can't just be like, oh yeah, we don't know anything about it, just kind of, it's as mysterious as modern Voltorb. No, this is how you make it cool. This is where you go, yo, this is how it exists, this is what made it into being, and this is why modern Voltorb are the way they are. But again, there is no care for the lore, so this is just fan service with no afterthought whatsoever. So yeah, we got that, and somehow it's just like a Hisuian ball as well. Glossy, spherical body. There's no manufacturing in the Hisui region because we're in some ancient times. Now, I've also seen stupid theories from people saying, nah, this game didn't take that far back in the past, you know, it's like the mid-1800s or something, it's only like 150 or 60 years ago, because that's how it draws parallels to Japan with the Hokkaido region. But in the first trailer, the way they introduced this game is by saying a long time ago. And again, you have to kind of ignore every other region being developed and every other thing about Sinnoh lore to go back so far that it becomes a Hisui region, even though Sinnoh is one of the first developed regions in Pokemon, and yet we had, like, the Pokemon War that was 3,000 years ago, and even hundreds of years ago there was another Pokemon War, and that was what Sir Aaron was a part of, and all this other stuff going on. So, I mean, like, this game is hundreds of years old, And then to be telling a tale of a time long ago when the lives of humans and Pokemon were still separate, that is very far removed from modern Pokemon. That isn't just 100 or 200 years ago. But the game, since they don't care about the lore, hasn't given us any time frame or reference as to when it takes place, and everything is just stupid and doesn't make any sense. So this was so long ago that there's really no way you can explain this thing's existence. So yeah, we got the wood grain-like makeup of its body's surface and the hole on the top of its head. Why though? Like, why is it hollow? You know, there seems to be countless seeds packed inside Hisuian Voltorb. Occasionally, it spouts these seeds out of the hole in its head. That's only for a grass, electric, non-Motom fan service, because we already got the normal ghost fan service with the Hisuian, Zorua, and Zoroark. So yeah, we got that, because the wood Pokeball. Again, it feels like they just they wanted to do something and they had no way of explaining it, so they just kind of did it anyways without any care for whatever Pokemon was for the last 25 years. However, no one knows what it's like on the inside of the Pokemon's body, because inside the hole, it's pitch dark. It's impossible to see anything, even if one peers into the hole. So it's just like a ball of wood with seeds inside, and then the eyes go into that hole, and there's also a hole on top of its head, and it's just empty darkness. Yet the Pokemon seems to exist, and something. This Pokemon is always in high spirits and has a friendly personality. However, it discharges the stored electricity all at once from the hole in its head when it gets excited, so it frequently shocks humans and Pokemon in the vicinity. So it's not quite exploding, but it's still a nuisance Pokemon through like the electric discharge and stuff, and then just like weird things, tales of people temporarily plugging the hole on Hisuian Voltorb's head and kicking it out of settlements are not entirely uncommon. So instead of explaining like what the entity that Voltorb is, they just make up some stupid lore for the already broken Hisui lore. Awesome. And I see some people are like, but it's happy. It's not like the angry Voltorb that we know, so it's different enough, and that's why it's okay that it exists. I mean, I guess I'm not a child, and I guess I have an IQ above room temperature and an inner monologue, so you don't have to just like make a cheery eye on a ball to make me go, yay! So I don't see what the appeal is, but yeah, this is very careless and somehow even less inspired than the original Voltorb. And then I see weirdos getting extra edgy with it, like, oh man, Voltorb used to be so happy, but then it got exiled and that became like the angry modern Voltorb that we see. Except, actually, Voltorb isn't that angry. Like, it can get pissed off and explode, but also Voltorb can be a happy, cheery Pokemon that likes rolling around. This is shown in episodes of Pokemon. And the interesting thing is, Pokemon TV is now doing a special to where they're just showing episodes that have Voltorb and Electrode in them. The Underground Roundup, I think, is the most comprehensive episode about Voltorb and Voltorb lore, and we can even see the scientist here. So the scientists wanted to use Voltorb to extract electricity from it and then like use it to run power plants and stuff. Voltorb escaped and then massively multiplied. The conditions were right, they evolved into Electrode, multiplied further, and then they started getting angry and exploding because they were too crowded. They aren't just a naturally angry Pokemon, the conditions also need to create the anger, and as we've seen from other depictions of Voltorb, things get kinda weird. So in Pokemon Generations, a very modern depiction of Electrode and the evolutionary line, they start flying around now. So in the original times, they would just like bounce around for both Voltorb and Electrode, but Electrode has been like, yo, we just use electromagnetic stuff and now we float around and that's how we're all cool and stuff. But see, these ones were pissed off because they were under the control of Team Rocket and didn't explode. They just shocked the dude and left. So yeah, Electrode's pretty cool. They just float around and have fun, which kind of adds to the mystery of like how much Electrode can tell us about Voltorb and stuff. But again, it's not just like, oh man, these things are just angry and explode, and that's all there is to it, so therefore the Pokemon is less inspired than Hisuian Voltorb, or is like a trash Gen 1 uninspired Pokemon. No, not at all. Like I said, the lore in Pokemon is beautiful. So let's go deeper, because if we're going off of the episodes, like, wait a second, how do they multiply and reproduce so proficiently? They are in an egg group, but they have an unknown gender. So, genderless Pokemon can only breed through Ditto. I mean, I'm not going to be like, oh man, there's a Ditto on the island. Doesn't seem like that was implied or any way. So, something just creates Voltorbs. And they can also proliferate in some kind of way, because it doesn't seem like direct reproduction from just two ungendered things. So yeah, let's actually like kind of go deeper and see what's going on here, and that brings us to the Pokedex entries. So the Pokedex entries, they're mostly implications. That's what I mean. Like, we don't have, like, the Mystery of Voltorb is alive and well. So if you're going to be updating it in the past, you might as well explain how Voltorb comes into existence and how it works in modern Pokemon. But no, if you actually go into the established, just regular Voltorb Pokedex entries, it just completely debunks Hisuian Voltorb's existence. Now, the main thing about Voltorb is that it's usually found in power plants. So harnessed concentrated electricity or electricity generation either attracts these Pokemon or causes them to exist in some kind of way, and we can get deeper into that. So it was discovered when Pokeballs were introduced. It is said that there is some connection. Now, this is going back to Silver. This is going back to 1999. There was no plan to be like, yo, we're going to tell this story about like Pokemon 200 or 300 years in the past, and that's when we're actually implying that Pokeballs were introduced, and that's what created Voltorb, even though we're talking about Voltorb and not Hisuian Voltorb. So the existence of Hisuian Voltorb is already just weird and nonsensical right there, because if this is the original Voltorb, it should say it somewhere in the lore, but also that means this is Voltorb and this is Cantonian Voltorb. Like, this Pokemon just doesn't have any way to fit in. All it is stupid fan service. They made the stupid Pokeball, and then they're like, well, we gotta do a Voltorb with it because we're giving so much attention to the Pokeball that makes no sense. So there's really no way of validating or justifying this Pokemon, and that's why I'm upset about it. Like, a Pokemon needs to have meaning. And this is where another idiot argument comes in, because people will just kind of brush it off and say, well, it's just fantasy, so I don't know why you're caring so much, it's just Pokemon. That means you don't care about Pokemon and you have no grasp of how fiction works, because you still need to have good canon. You still need to follow the rules that you have set in your own fantasy land, and if you don't do that, then your story is bad. And if the story is bad, then why are you defending it so much? Everything about Pokemon Legends, from the Pokemon to the lore to just the actual gameplay mechanics, is just bad design in every way, and yet people are defending it instead of admitting that's just bad design. What do you have to lose? Why are you so overinvested in something that is objectively, identifiably bad, because it just breaks the most basic rules of trying to tell a story or trying to create a universe? So you're not a real Pokemon fan if you're like, well, I don't like Verlisify, he's kind of a meanie, so nothing in Pokemon matters anymore because they can just do whatever they want since it's fantasy and who cares? Pokemon aren't even real. It's like, okay, those are that's the extent that people have to go. Those are the mental gymnastics to where it's like, yep, that's how Pokemon Legends is okay. So let's keep on going, because it gets even worse. Whatever, if your cognitive dissonance doesn't allow you to see that this is not trying to relate to Hisui and is talking about very modern Pokemon and the modern Pokeball, not the Hisuian Pokeball, the next one will get you. Voltorb was first sighted at a company that manufactures Pokeballs. Boom. We're talking about a modern processing plant for Pokeballs. That's it. You know, we are crafting them by hand in the Hisui region. Crafting them by hand shouldn't create some kind of electric shenanigans that then brings these things into existence. It makes absolutely no sense. It should not be defensible with how little sense it makes. The link between that sighting and the fact that this Pokemon looks very similar to a Pokeball remains a mystery. And like, that's the thing, like, this thing is enigmatic. It's cool in that way that we can try to like figure out what's going on. It is rumored that it was first created when a Pokeball was exposed to a powerful pulse of energy. There we go. Once again, really talking about the modern Pokeball and manufacturing, especially when we consider the state of the Pokemon world at this time. Also, there is a coherent timeline between when the games take place. It's not like, well, we don't know when this happened. No, Pokemon Red and Blue, this is around the 90s. This is around the time when it came out in real life. And then Gold and Silver Crystal, that's going to be 3 years later. That's a part of the whole story because of Team Rocket 2.0 in Johto, and then Red on the mountain and all that other crazy stuff that's going on. Here we go. Gens 1 and 3 happen at the same time. 2 and 4 happen at the same time. Something black and white shenanigans while we have Gen 6 and later Gen 5 happening. Then Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. And that's cool when Red just shows up in the Alola region as an adult. Pokemon lore is beautiful, and there's actually an attempt here to make something cohesive. So yeah, something, Pulse of Energy, Pokeball, Voltorb exists. And it kind of goes into the whole 90s commentary on, like, pollution and being green and stuff, because there's other Pokemon that fit into this. And that's why I feel like Magnemite is such a fascinating Pokemon to me, and Magneton, and even Grimer with how it works. Like, these Pokemon are deliberate and have explanations for how they work. So, you know, here's the cool thing about Magnemite. It just appears out of nowhere. And it floats using anti-gravity, and then it's, like, attracted to the grid. And then Magneton is also got, like, mysteriousness going on with sunspots. That's, I mean, like, do they just, like, that's the thing about Magnemite that I was, like, trying to figure out with my research. I'm like, do they just blink into existence because of magnetic fields and then potential sunspots, and just, like, the combined energy just creates a Magnemite, and then they float around and just appear? That's pretty neat to me. And then because of our increased reliance on the grid, that's attracting Magnemite into towns, and it creates, like, craziness. Large cities sound sirens to warn citizens of large-scale outbreaks of this Pokemon, because they just love the energy and the magnetic fields and all that crazy stuff that's going on. So that's pretty cool. Going into the Electrode, we already talked about it a bit. It's known to drift on winds if it's bloated to bursting with stored energy. So yeah, that was like Gen 4 where, like, Electrode just started becoming a floating Pokemon, but they appear in great numbers at electric power plants because they feed on electricity, blackouts, danger, explosions, stores electrical energy inside its body. I don't know if they're trying to make a parallel with, like, electrical energy in seeds or something. I don't know, the Pokemon rattles and it's weird. But then it was born when sludge in a dirty stream was exposed to the moon's X-rays. It appears among filth. So that's Grimer. Grimer can just exist out of nowhere as well, and that kind of, like, leads credence to what's going on with some of these other industrial kind of Pokemon like Magnemite and Voltorb. Some kind of strange conditions, Pokemon exists. And then we have Porygon. Roughly 20 years ago, it was artificially created utilizing the latest technology at the time. 2016 Pokemon Sun and Moon, 1996 Pokemon Red and Blue version. And if we pull up the Pokemon timeline again, it makes sense, even with this vagueness, because Porygon was in Red and Blue, so it had already existed as a Pokemon for some amount of time. It's cool. Pokemon lore is beautiful, and then we got, like, Sylph shenanigans and whatever. So yeah, the Pokemon consists entirely of programming code capable of moving freely in cyberspace, man-made Pokemon. So yeah, like, we don't have, like, craziness, but artificial Pokemon due to extensive research. So again, a commentary on this digital internet booming age and whatnot, and just another artificial technology Pokemon in the same lines as Magneton, etc., like I've been talking about. But there's an idea here. There's an idea to explain the Pokemon's existence or have some kind of sub-commentary as to how the Pokemon may exist. Even if we want to take, like, the biggest reach to where it's like, okay, a Hisuian Pokeball exposed to Arceus energy because we see that in the trailers, then why are they saying that Voltorb first exists as this form, and that is, like, supposed to be the modern Pokeball kind of thing in the Pokedex entries, when apparently this has been around for hundreds of years? That's because it hadn't, and Hisuian Voltorb is a complete asspull. I also wanted to kind of, like, go deeper into Voltorb. The Pokemon cards and art surprisingly tell a lot about the Pokemon. Like, you're not going to get something non-canon in a serious TCG set because the Pokemon Company gives guidance on how the Pokemon is supposed to be represented. You can also see that. So, usually seen only in power plants, it is sometimes seen in towns, apparently using the power lines to travel. Well, that just sounds like complete So yeah, Voltorb is actually kind of neat and fascinating, and the whole power line, like, it just rolls on power lines for traveling. So it's not only just confined to power plants and towns and stuff, it can just be rolling off the power lines in rural areas and then zooming around, because the more electricity it stores, the faster it moves, but that makes it more volatile to explosions and then causing damage to the grid. Along with Magnemite and Magneton, which also seem to be in the same realm of these weird artificial Pokemon. People are like, how can you hate Garbodor when we just have inanimate Pokemon like Voltorb and Magnemite? That's because these Pokemon are actually fascinating and have lore and depth to them that people just don't really understand, but it's there. Care was put into these Pokemon even over 25 years ago, and that's why I love Pokemon, because we get all these cool things, these representations. This comes from Plasma Freeze, and even with the Black and White 2 shenanigans going down, I guess that's like Reshiram things, I don't care about it too much. But yeah, like Voltorb's still chilling at a now taken over frozen power plant, hoping for things to return to normal, or maybe it doesn't care because it's doing just fine. We also see more like just power plant gaining electric energy, just kind of floating, hovering around, all kinds of weirdness. Usually found in power plants, easily mistaken for a Pokeball. It has zapped many people, and then we can actually see the images of it being mistaken for a Pokeball and zapping people. So we got some cool art inside a power plant. That's how you see it. You engage in the power plant in the original Pokemon games, and that's how it happens, and now it all makes sense and it all comes together, and Voltorb, actually a cool, well thought out Pokemon. How much more do I have to show and tell you that this is not a well thought out Pokemon and that it is a representation of how careless everything in Pokemon Legends is? So I tried to get down to like the mystery of how Voltorb was created, and you know, we don't have anything like giga conclusive because, you know, it's rumored that was created when a Pokeball was exposed to a pulse of energy. That seems to be the heavy implication. But then even after Ruby and Sapphire, you know, they're just like, we don't know where it comes from. You know, it's still, maybe there's a connection. It's a mystery. And even after watching some of the Pokemon episodes and getting like really immersed into the lore, there was nothing super concrete about like Voltorb just being like just existing or something. But that's again why I'm like really just more confused and upset by Hisuian Voltorb, because this was the chance. What is it, and how did it come into being, and how does it translate into modern Pokemon? Oh wait, no, nothing about Pokemon Legends was that well thought out, so we're just going to completely ignore it and make something that can't be justified in any way? Cool stuff, guys. Cool stuff. I've seen some people try to say, oh, but it's a mimic, so, you know, it could just kind of do the same thing, but in the Hisui region. That's a lazy out that isn't really supported by any of the things I just showed and talked about, because there is something deliberate about this Pokemon, how it exists, and how it moves through life, and what it wants to do. So, yeah, the mimic angle doesn't really hold up, and even with the Hisuian Voltorb, like, it's just a hollow, empty nothing, but somehow has life. And I guess, like, if you're looking at it from that way, like, a ball of wood just kind of becoming alive, a Pokeball just kind of becoming alive, there's no reason for this thing's existence, and it still, like, has less of an explanation than somehow the frickin' Pokeball Pokemon. So, yeah, and, like, that's the thing, you can't be like, well, Voltorb just magically exists, so Hisuian Voltorb magically exists. Now, there's actually more of a case for Voltorb, which means that Ancestor Pokemon, if it has less of a case, mind-blowing, dude, I don't get it. So, yeah, like I said, this has been what fascinates me, and this is why I'm against Legends Arceus. I've said it a million times, but I mean, I love Pokemon so much. And as you can see, I love being fascinated by Pokemon. I love going into the lore. I love finding the history on random things that no one has ever really like super deep dove into or thought about. Also, some of the best performing videos on my channel are lore. I feel like I'm the only person that realized, wait a second, Ash didn't earn all of his badges, therefore Charizard never got respect because those badges aren't earned. Merely possessing a badge is not the secret to getting the obedience. And it was a transferred Pokemon because Ash, or like Charmander, came from the other dude. I forget that jerk's name. Ken Sugimori designed Clefairy, and Clefairy was once supposed to be the mascot for Pokemon, and Ken Sugimori only knew how to draw cool things, so that's his only take on like a cute Pokemon. Pikachu ended up becoming a mascot, therefore that resentment 20 years ago, which is stated in Mimikyu's lore, could explain the spirit of Clefairy being an angry Mimikyu, or Mimikyu, which has angriness towards Pikachu, the thing it hates most, which is why it wears the costume. Pokemon lore gets cool when you really deep dive into it, which is why this and Legends should not be defended, unless you're just not a Pokemon fan, in which case it makes sense and you just like seeing the pretty things because, I don't know, maybe you got some kind of mental deficiency. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.